Oh, good evening. The Who's today were on at Kembla Grange. The track was good, fairly firm. The rail was 6 metres out, and the wind was a nor'easter, which means turning for home, they run into the wind. Now, we saw the first winner lead all the way, but finish well out in the middle of the track, and the horse on its outside, we're talking about Nash Rambler leading. It was the 1,000-metre race coming out of the chute, and sitting on its outside was the second horse, Excellent Point, and Excellent Point hung under pressure after turning for home. Well, halfway up the straight, it started to get out. The winner followed him, kept on following him out, and runners behind got cramped a little bit. The Nash Rambler was the only winner to lead and win all day. But as I say, it was a 1,000-metre race. And after that, runners that were leading for home, unfortunately, were getting affected by the wind. And horses who were easing off the heels and coming down the outside, you didn't have to be well back, you could be just off the pace, had an advantage. And the first race, well, we only, on the screen, it was a tough little school there, not many players, but enough to, it was a Randwick meeting, an ATC meeting transferred to Kembla, but enough players to, I suppose, lay a few bets. Anyway, the first race, there was only 101.7 on the screen, a little bit less in the marketplace, and the winner, Nash Rambler, it started favourite at $3.70, opened up $3 and got to that price. The second horse, Excellent Point, was, I suppose, one of the best back runners. It opened up $4, got out to $5, started $4.20, and Set to Go, it was also back, but it was $8 into $6, and that was about it. The other runner in the market, Perfect Rouge, well, it was extremely hard to lay. Went up $3 equal favourite with the winner, Nash Rambler, and it got out to $4. It was unlayable, whereas the winner was layable for something. But booking, you could have won on the race. Race 2, there was 103.2 on the screen, but there was a little bit less in the marketplace, and this was won by the Avery, the bottom one, Bugaboo, and it was a maiden runner, racing out of its class, and it was able to get a beautiful run in the race. It missed the kick slightly, but then ridden by the brilliant Brendan Abdullah, got into the right position on the back of California Poppy, who got trapped 3 wide in the run, and facing the breeze, turning for home, was Cathay Lady, number 2. So to hold on to second, its run was a bit better than it looked. It was very easy in the market. I'll get to it in a second. But the winner, it went up $3, Bugaboo, and it got out to $3.50 quickly, but it was back shortly after got out to that price, back into about $3.20, hard to get, or it might have even been at $3.10, but got back out to $3.50 towards the end of betting. And more or less, there was only one other runner that was backed in this race. I know 2 other runners backed, and they were Scram, who finished up running last, went disgracefully. It's only small, raced in 4th position in between runners. It went up 9-4, got out to 7-2, $3.20 out to $4.60, but only started $3.60. And the other runner that was well backed was Californian Poppy, who got trapped 3 wide in the run, went from $13 out to $16, back into about $10. All of the others got out in the market, and well out in the market, including the second horse, Cathay Lady, went from $7 out to $13. And as I say, the favourite, Bugaboo, it got into exactly the right position the way the track was playing, and was able to beat the leader by 1 length. Race 2, there was 109.7 on the screen, and that was about right. There might have been a little bit less in the marketplace, but we had positive figures here. Plenty of runners not layable, but by the same token, there were quite a few runners that were layable. The favourite Loophole, it was always layable, not towards the finish at evens, but at one stage of betting, you could lay evens against it, against it for whatever you wanted. It had every possible chance. It didn't get beat far. Finish up, it ran 4th, was only beaten about 0.8 of a length at the finish. Leading in this race was the second pick, Rastro. The two of them finished together at Canterbury last start, and they finished together again today. As I say, the favourite Loophole went up evens, was into 5 to 4 on at one stage, $1.80, but got back out to evens at the finish. And Rastro, it was quickly reached for by the captains. It went from $3.50 out to $5, but only started $3.70 or $3.80. And unfortunately, it finished up running 5th, and it led on the fence and stayed fairly close to it. Wasn't the place to be today, and it went from barrier around about barrier 8, Rastro, and as I say, crossed and found the fence, which could have been against it. The winner of this race was a very good result for the captains. Mintaro, it went from $13 out to $21, and it sat in 5th or 6th position off the fence and had wind cover when they turned for home. It was able to get to the middle of the track and put its bib out at the right time on the line to just beat another good result for captains if it would have won. That was number 8, Savasha. It went from $21 out to $31. It went through the middle. It was on the winner's back, but went through in the middle and just failed. And coming off its back down the outside, the widest in the straight was Pop Street, and it would have been a good result for the captains as well, because it went from $13, or actually no, Pop Street went from $7 out to $13, but didn't have a price, and they crossed the line. There was only between the first 7 runners in the race, there was only 1.3 lengths, and the winner has got home because of the way the track was playing. Run the race again, and I dare say that it ran 5th. Rastro, it might have been, might have got the cash if the track was playing fair. Race 4, here we saw 101 on the screen, but there was less in the marketplace. For instance, the winner, Oompa Loompa, well, it didn't have a price, Oompa Loompa. It went from $2.80, it jumped $4.20 on my board, and the grumble and grunters and even the pros, they didn't want to have a bar of Oompa Loompa. As I say, $2.80 to $4.20. Well backed in this race was the second horse, Another Love Child, went up $4.60 out to $5, but only started $4, extremely hard to get. And down near the bottom, Ellen Grenadine, it went up 5 to 2, and it was quickly snapped up into $3 at one stage. It got back out to $3.20 or 30 towards the end of betting. And all of the, there was one other runner backed in the race, was Crusader General, number 6, opened up 12, got out to 13, and it was backed into about a $9 chance, about an 8 to 1 chance at the death. And leading in the race was Another Love Child. So for it to hang on and 1 second, at one stage it was behind the pace, but it started to pull on Nash, and it got onto the heels of the runner in front of him, and he had to take off before I think he wanted to, and it turned for home leading. And as soon as it turned for home, the wind might have taken a bit of effect of it on it, and it finished. It held on well. Oompa Loompa was at that stage looking at the leaders, was actually outside the leader turning for home, and when Another Love Child kicked, it looked like it was going to hold on, but the wind might have taken the effect on it, and Oompa Loompa was able to wear it down, and coming off Oompa Loompa's back was the favourite Ellen Grenadine, who had every possible chance in the run. It led early on the fence, but then when Nash crossed, it sat behind the pace and was able to ease off the heels turning for home. And as I say, it had every possible chance. Margins were 0.8 by 0.9, and coming down the outside after copying a bit of a check and taken wide in the run was Crusader General, 1.7 lengths away. It was a result for the captains because the winner didn't have a price and they backed a few others. Race 5, there was 110 on the screen. There was less in the marketplace, and this was, I suppose, a result for the captains. Although it was back, I did see as much as $20 bet about Kukuri, the winner. It was back on top of the ground today, and Christian Reith aboard, taking over from the apprentice, and it settled midfield, and it was travelling very well. And coming to the turn, it was eased off the fence, and he got a middle split, and he more or less nudged the favourite out of the way, Floor Show, who gave Killer Cat a bit of a funny ride today. It was well back, the favourite, Floor Show, and when it was able to get inside the winner, the favourite, turning for home, you could see it was travelling by far the best of any runner in the field, and when he let down, the race was all over, and it won easily by 2.8 lengths. It was backed. It was $15, $16 out to $20, back into about $16, $17 towards the end of betting. The favourite in the race, as I say, was Floor Show. It was a bit hard to lay Floor Show, although I did lay it for a good bit of section. It went up $2.30 and did get out to $3.20, back into $2.80. I think I might have been $3 when they jumped, although I think it was returned a lot shorter. But there was a bit of money for quite a few runners in the race. Duralian, you could lay at one stage at $7.50 and $8. Started 9 on my board. Ward, they took $10. Acropolis, they took $7.50 and $7 and $6.50. Jack's Image was labelled at $9 and $8.50. Pleasurina and Rapidus, hard to lay, but a little bit of money, a section for them. Flying Distraction was labelled at 50 and 40, and the bottom one, Lee Air, it was $21 into about $16. There was a section for it as well. It wasn't a bad little heat. They backed quite a few runners, and I suppose you could easily have laid the winner, but it was most probably a result for the captains. We came to race 6, and there was 109.5 on the screen, and I think there was a bit less in the marketplace. For instance, this favourite, King's Domain, I think they returned at $2.80. Well, I was $3.30 when they jumped, and it was extremely hard to lay. We put it up $1.80, 5 to 4 on. Well, have your 5 to 4, King's Domain, but the pros and the few grumble and grunters who were there, they said no thanks. We don't want to be on at those odds. I did pull a couple of monkeys out of it at one stage, I think, but I did have to give it out to $3 and $3.20, and as I say, I might have started $3.30 on my board, even though it was returned $2.80. I took $31 Typeface. Fitness Fanatic had laid it at $17 at one stage. Shower Lionheart, well, it was well backed. They took $6 at one stage into $5.50, but back out to $6. Agent didn't have a price. It went from $6.50 out to $10. They took $4.60 in the sale. It was $4.60 into $4. Now, the next runner, Arm's Length, its run was most probably better than it looked. It's only been beaten 1.3 lengths. The winner was never going to get beat the way the race was run. It got into a beautiful position. And Arm's Length, I think I laid 70 lemons at one stage about it. It was $40 out to $71, $70 back into about 51, and it led with the Avery on its outside King's Dominion. And when they turned for home, it had to put up with the wind Arm's Length. So to hold on, and it had barrier 1, to hold on and run second, its effort was a lot better than its price. SP started, well, about $70, as I say, and it still started 50. So it's you run that race over again, and you take a lot less about it. Resuming from the spell was Shower Lionheart. As I say, got into a beautiful position, got straight onto the back of King's Dominion, who was outside the leader, and it travelled beautifully in the run. And when they turned for home, Christian Reith had plenty of horse underneath him, he waited and waited, and when he went for it halfway up the straight, it was able to sprint clear. But by the same token, it only beat the 50-to-1 chance by 1.3 lengths, and all the others seemed to have their chance coming off the back of runners, and with arm's length holding on and running second in this race makes you think whether the form is any good. And then we came to the lucky last. Now, I'll tell you how they started on my board. On the screen it said the top fluck was 109.7. Well, unfortunately, we only got to 95 in this race. Now, for some reason, I don't know how it was, but number 2, Extra Seed, it was returned $8. It never moved off $8 on the fluck board. Well, I gave $13. Well, I think I had $15 up at one stage, just before they jumped. But I know I gave $13 and I laid it at $12. When they jumped Green Trace, I had $8 on my board. Hort Normandy didn't have a price, went from $17 only out to $101. Struck it for a box of for Tom Thumbs, I think. Rockefeller Centre laid good section against it. I might have laid 12 monkeys and plus plenty of other bets. Bet $12 about it. It started $11. Continental Fly didn't have a price, 21 out to 71. Midnight Mix, you could lay it at $13 at one stage, started 12. Blue Line, I bet it opened up $4, got to $5.50, only started $4.20. Devon, they gave as much as $18 about Devon, it only started 13. Sastruga, the winner. Now the captain, the pros and the grumble and grunters said, captains, you can have Sastruga for yourself. And I was quite happy to say, all right, well, we'll have that one. And Sastruga, we put it up clear favourite at $3.20, and it was $4.40 begging at the finish. And I think it was, even though it started second favourite, it was a good result for the captains. The next runner, Grass Cop, it was $8.50. The first runner was back $8.50 into $7 at one stage. It got back out to $8. It only started 7, and the bottom one was Sensational Moment, was 51 out to $301. Nowhere near the 109.9 that you saw on the screen, a lot less, and it was less than 100. And this winner, well, going straight to the front was I Own the Lead, Rockefeller Centre. It went straight to the lead, and unfortunately the wind took care of it. It ran fourth, beaten 3.7 lengths. Sitting on its outside was Devon, resuming from, oh, it wasn't resuming from a spell, but it was back and it sat outside the lead. It held on fairly ordinary. Tucked in behind them from barrier 2 was, or did it have barrier 1? It had barrier 2, Extra Seed. It was tucked in behind them on the fence, not the place to be. It ran third last, and sitting on its outside, getting a cosy run, was the winner, Sastruga. And it was travelling very easily, and similar to the previous winner, Show a Lionheart, when they turned for home. This one was ridden by jovial Josh Parr. He knew the 10% was underneath the bed, and he just was looking at the leaders, saying to himself, well, I know I've got you covered, and there's going to have to be something travelling very well behind me to come and beat me. And he just rolled up to the leaders and gave Sastruga its head, and the race was over. But by the same token, the second horse who came along the inside, one of the ones that was first back, Grasscop, it ran a good race coming from just behind the pace on the fence, but had to come through on the inside. It was 1.8 lengths away in second position, and coming down the outside, off the winner's back was Blue Line, who was well backed. The pros came into Blue Line. It had every possible chance, beaten 3.6 lengths. That was about the meeting. Hope you had some luck there. The Who's are on tomorrow at Gosford. If you have a bet there, hope you have some luck. Good evening.